As I mentioned, Ragdoll was a screenplay that I wrote about 6 years before I wrote the novel. I got rejected with all my screenplays, but Ragdoll got the furthest out of all of them. And I loved this idea of the one body, six victims. I love the characters. So that's the one that I decided to try and turn into a novel and finish the story. As for that horrible idea in the first instance, I think I just really like the idea of them having two cases to deal with at the same time. They've got 6 dead victims to make up the Ragdoll body, but they've also got 6 more that they need to protect. So I think I used it in the same way as the killer did in the book, just to really shock everyone and make sure they're paying attention right from chapter 1. So a little bit more about Emily Baxter. She is based on my little sister. So anyone who's read the book will know how abrasive and occasionally obnoxious she can be. She is very, very funny, my little sister, and lots of the things that she says come straight out of her mouth and onto the page. So she's a great source of inspiration. It's strange talking about Ragdoll because I'm halfway through writing book 3 at the moment. And it took me that long to realise that really Baxter is the main character. Ragdoll is driven by Wolf's story, Laffont is driven by Ruche's story, but Baxter is the constant. She's always there while these characters' lives implode around her. So that was interesting that even I didn't know that. I think everyone's quite interested in serial killers. Like, crime shows are always so big. There's so many of them on TV, crime books. And I think it's fundamentally just the most basic elements of storytelling. It's like a hero needs to save somebody and defeat the baddie. And as complicated as these stories get, and as clever as authors try and be with it, fundamentally that's what it comes down to. So I think serial killers are probably the closest thing to modern day monsters that we have. Inspiration for my serial killer, Ragdoll, I wanted it to be a movie in a book. So I wanted my serial killer to be, I took everything that I loved out of all those famous serial killers that I've watched on the screen and put them into one. And while it doesn't stick very closely to reality, it was never supposed to in this book. In Laffont, I've gone in a different direction with it, but for Ragdoll, I just wanted the ultimate genius twisted serial killer. My favourite serial killer, fictional, would be John Doe from the movie Seven. I love that movie, and Ragdoll was compared to it so often when it came out. Our original pitch was it's like the movie Seven but funnier. That was our pitch for Ragdoll. But yeah, John Doe and that idea of the 7 deadly sins, and it's like the list in Ragdoll of the dates on which the next victim's going to come. It's like a ticking clock, and that's definitely something that I tried to emulate. I can't tell you very much about the third book because I don't know yet. I'm halfway through the first draft, but it really, really is a first draft. And it's hard to say much without ruining both the books before it. What I can say is that I've written these first books as a trilogy. They all overlap, they all reference each other. Book 3 covers a time period well before Ragdoll, during Ragdoll, during Laffont, and then afterwards. So that, it's interesting writing it as a trilogy, and I always had that in mind.